I'm Dennis Burke with Northwest Christian Writers Association. We're here at the Northwest Christian Writers Renewal Conference, and I'm here with Florea from Focus on the Family magazine, or actually Focus on the Family.
Clubhouse. Yes,
Clubhouse?
Yes, Focus on the Family Clubhouse, our official title. Yeah.
Okay. So you were telling me an interesting story last night about a great idea that you never got from the writer.
It was actually from this conference several years ago, and rarely does an editor remember a pitch for like 2 years. But this thing has just stayed with me because it was such a great idea, because it used animals to teach biblical principles. And so I was talking to this guy, and he was telling me that the salmon, to escape the orca whales, will go deep. They'll dive deep, and they'll stay, and they'll swim around because the orcas have to come up to breathe again. And so you escape danger by going deep. And in the same way, with your relationship with the Lord, if you're in danger or people are bothering you, if you go deep with God, that's where you stay safe. I thought, wow, that's great. And he had a couple other ideas from the animal kingdom that taught biblical principles. And you know how kids love animals.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you got to write that up, because he didn't have it written up. It's just an idea he had. And I said, you got to send that to me. Well, 2 years have gone by. I still haven't gotten it.
And we haven't found him.
No, we haven't found him yet, but we want to.
Okay, great. So now, what about, a lot of people say, oh, I don't write for kids, I work in a certain niche. What advice would you have for people who want to write for Clubhouse or
There's I would say write your passion. And somebody that comes to mind is a pastor who I met at the Philadelphia Christian Writers Conference. It's probably going back about 4 or 5 years now. And I really wanted to do more stuff with biblical archaeology in the magazine, to talk about how you can trust what's in God's Word, because somebody over in the Holy Lands will go dig something up, and boom, there it is. It proves what the Bible story said was real. And so I wanted stories like that. Well, he had actually gone over to the Holy Lands and done a lot of archaeology digs and been in the dirt and knew all the tools. And so he started writing biblical archaeology stories for me. Well, the sad part was the first thing he sent me was definitely not for children. He was a pastor. He was used to talking to adults. A really, really dry opening. Some very interesting information if you got like 3/4 of the way through. But a child, if there's like 3 sentences of boredom, they're off playing their Nintendo. So I sent it back to him. I said, okay, can you give me an opening more like this? And I said, do you have any kids in your life, any kids at church you could run this by before you send it to me, to make sure that you get enough fun in it? Because you have to have the fun aspect as you're teaching. And he's like, well, my son's 12. And I'm like, there you go. There's your editor. Actually, I said, he's your in-house editor. Before you send me anything else, before you send me your rewrite, you run it past your son. So he ran it past his son, and his son just got a kick out of it. And so his dad, the pastor, decided to pay his son 20% of everything that he made as his editor before he sent it in to me. And the guy's done a much better job. He's actually written 4 stories for me, and we're working through a 5th one right now, going back and forth on an idea that he has.
Great. Do you have any advice for first-time conference attendees?
For first-time attendees, I think you just really have to make the most of those meal times, make the most of those breaks. When you talk to an editor and you share your passions, and if an editor says, hey, I really like the sound of that idea, can you send something to me? Then send it. Just like we were talking about a gentleman a couple years ago who just never sent something in. So kind of like writers' conferences are like life. It's all about the relationships and stuff. So if you're able to connect with an editor and on a certain level, and just start emailing, developing that relationship, and sharing your passions and how your passions fit into their magazine. And they also have to do some research. It's not like I'm not there to teach you about Clubhouse magazine and how to write for it. You have to go pick up the magazine, read it, whether it's a book house you want to write for, read the books that they're doing, know what they're doing, but then use the knowledge that you've gained through your research, add it to your passion, plus the relationship, and you can be really successful.
Well, we're glad to have both Jesse and Focus on the Family here with us, and he's been a great presenter for us, and we're glad to have him. Thanks.
Well, thanks.